So it's press got it. I've got it. So there, I've pressed got it. So I'm happy to be on that. Okay. All right. People are still coming in, so we're still letting people in, which is great. Next slide, please, David. I think people are pressed. So we're going to do, actually, before we start, David, this is where people can unmute themselves. This is what we normally do at Suffolk People First. It's if you hear where you're from, you might, because there's people from all over the place, you might not get where you're from, but if you hear where you're from, shout, "Hi, I'm here," and stuff like that. So yeah, take it away, David. Yeah, all unmute for now, if you like.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Suffolk People First.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning, everyone.
Anybody from Ipswich?
Yay!
Oh, good.
Anybody from Bury St Edmunds?
Oh. Is anybody from Stowmarket?
Yeah.
Anybody from Lowestoft?
Oh, yes.
No.
Anybody from Felixstowe?
Anyone from Sudbury?
Yeah!
One. I like that.
Anybody from Newmarket?
Yeah!
Ah!
Anybody from Haverhill?
I know, right?
Haverhill. Who's from Haverhill?
No?
Anybody
No,
from Suffolk County Council?
Yay.
Yes.
Is anybody from Suffolk Police?
Busy at the moment, I reckon.
Anybody
Yeah.
from NHS?
Yay!
Oh, we got a few.
I felt like clapping at that point.
So I think that's the end of what. Is there anybody from, I'll say now, Solihull?
Yes!
Ah, I thought I saw some. Yeah, good. I saw some different Solihull advocacy. Yeah.
Anyone from London or around there?
I'm near Solihull.
Yeah. Okay, so
We
can't
have
get everybody,
quite a
but-
few people around the UK as well
Yeah.
today.
So yeah, so thanks very much for that. So if obviously we can't go around everybody because there's quite a few people here. So if you can introduce yourselves in the text box, in the chat box, that would be great. So just write where you're from and who you are.
You could have said to it, anyone from the rest of the UK?
Anybody from the rest of the UK?
Hello. Already mentioned
There
that.
you go. There you go. Brilliant.
Well,
We're very inclusive, aren't we? So right, okay.
Video that we did.
Joel, we're coming on to that. We're just going through the agenda, okay? So, right, we're gonna. So that's that bit. Next bit, David, please. Right. So Abby is going to do this next bit.
So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Suffolk People First. So I'm just going to go through some tips for an awesome online conference. So next slide, please, David. So first, please, can you mute yourself when it's someone else's turn to speak? So we do this so that we don't interrupt or over talk over someone else. And it also means that we can all hear what everyone is saying much easier. So please, please stay on mute unless it's unless you're speaking yourself. Next slide, please, David. So the mute button, if you see the blue arrow there, it points to the mute button. If you get your mouse or your finger and you press on that, you will then go on mute. Or you can press your space bar as well, I think. Please try not to interrupt guest speakers or people when they are talking. So it's really important You let people talk, and we don't talk over someone or come in halfway through someone who's talking. It's about being respectful and polite. Thank you. Next slide. So if you have a question or comment, type it into the chat box. And where the blue arrow is again is the chat box. So if you click on there, you will have a little box that appears and you can type into there. Thank you. 4, when we have time for questions and discussions, use the raise hand button to show you'd want to speak. So where the blue arrow is again, there's a little smiley face with a plus symbol. That's your reaction button. If you click on there, there's a little bit that says raise hand. You can press on that. Or if you cannot do that, just raise your hand physically and we will come round to you. We will try and see everyone's physical hand as well. So you can press it on there or raise your hand up like this. Thank you. Try not to have any background noise like televisions or mobile phones. And please be kind, respectful, and have fun. If at any point you need to have a comfort break, please have one. All we ask is that you turn your camera off and you're on mute whilst you go for your comfort break.
Right. Thank you, Abby. Cheers. Right. Okay. So we're going to go through the agenda. Yeah, I know there's people put some sound, sound problems. Yeah, sometimes we sound weird on these things, but yeah. So first of all, first on the agenda is a film that that ACE have made. Do you think it's important to talk about mental health? The film will. You'll see the film and then it will lead on to something else. So that's the first thing on our agenda that we'll show you. So after the film, we'll be doing a flinger exercise. And if you haven't used flinger before, we'll explain that, which is a big whiteboard that we can use. So that's the next thing on the agenda. And then we've got Susannah from Active Gardens. I think you're here, Susannah, aren't you? So she's going to be doing a presentation about what they do. So we look forward to that. So then we've got a 10-minute break because there's quite a lot, it doesn't look like a lot, but there's quite a lot to get through. 10-minute break, cup of tea, comfort break, as Abby explained. And then after the break, we have got an old face who came to Suffolk. No, I shouldn't say that because Mik's not on yet, but Mik came to Suffolk People First about 8 years ago at Kesgrove, and he's going to be speaking about mental health and about some of the things he's been up to. So it'd be nice to see him again. So he's going to be coming to talk to us. And then we have Nicola from Suffolk Wellbeing, who's going to come and do a presentation about what they do. We did have another guest speaker, but unfortunately they're not well. But I think we've got quite a lot on here. Less is more sometimes. So let's see what's up first. So first thing next, we're gonna be playing a film. So if you just put yourselves on mute, pop your feet up for 8 minutes, and you can watch this film. Okay. Do you think it's important to talk about mental health?
It's really important to talk about mental health because it's not talked about enough, and I think that we need to talk about it more because every human being in the world has a mental disorder. Doesn't matter what it is. It's very important to talk about it, and I think that people need to open up.
If you don't talk about it, you feel anxious, feel a load of pressure really down, and you feel really low. Talk to more people, talk to friends, and everybody's there for you. Need any help.
Yes, it is important to talk about my mental health. If I don't get it off my chest, I still feel bad and upset.
Yes, with to people you trust, because they're there to help you with your mental health.
To show people who have got that, especially friends I know, and that's got to be important for them to go and come out this park and come out here. It's great. Not be stuck indoors or being bored. Come out and enjoy your life.
Well, sometimes Not always.
I think it's very important that you let people know if you are feeling unwell or if there's something that you're not happy with. Whichever place that you go to, or if you're at home, it's always best to let someone know if ever you're not happy with something, or if there's something that you don't like, then it's important to let them know, because otherwise if you don't tell them, they won't know and then they can't help.
Because people have different feelings towards each other, people have disagreements, people have fights or lash out at people. Some people judge others.
If you're being under pressure with mental health, who are not very good, do a Zoom call for the advocates. Like a couple of people who are very good at speaking up, can help people speak up, just say about their mental health, and they will guide you and sometimes give information if you're feeling depressed or something.
I think it's really important to talk about mental health in life, and I think it comes out more now than in history or in past. We all need to talk to people about mental health, because mental health is how we all feel, and if we're not talking to people, how can we all know how we all feel? People in this world, in history, make it a big deal, and that's why most people are afraid to come out.
Yes, I do, because if you don't talk about it, other people are not aware of it.
I'm fine about my mental health, how it is.
Do you think it's important to talk about it if you feel sad?
Sometimes.
Yes, it is very much. If you don't talk about it, it will get worse, and it's very important to get it off your chest.
Yes, it's indeed, because it helps for other people to listen to what the people say to you.
Yeah, I do. I think it's really important to talk about mental health. I think if you start dwelling on stuff, things get worse. I personally find that, the hardest thing, if you don't, as a man, you're not supposed to talk about stuff, but I'm quite good at talking about how I feel. You shouldn't bottle stuff up, but everyone's different, aren't they?
Yes, because it'll help people know who you are, and also it'll help you get it off your chest a bit.
It's important for me to express how I feel, because when I'm not happy, I want to talk to somebody face to face about it, because every day I feel like banging my head against the wall, because I'm just not getting the feel of having much independence and going out and seeing people face to face.
Things just build up pretty quickly in my mood, in my tantrum, in my way. And sometimes if I don't talk about it, particularly with people that you're close to, I'll just find it really, really frustrating. I know for a fact myself it's been happening for years, not just during COVID, but it can be very, 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 very difficult. And sometimes trying to shout out what you want, sometimes you're just not getting listened to. A good job that me and my girlfriend, for example, we go online, we talk about things, or we just do other things.
I think it's probably the most important question that we can ask. It's about support again. It's about seeking support. So when we're all committed, as we are, we're all committed to people having the right support from the right people at the right time. And the right time is early, and around mental health issues, people actually speaking to each other and saying they're in trouble, or people asking each other, are you okay? And if someone says no, then asking some more questions and looking for support. So a lot of it's about not being concerned about asking for support. The other bit of experience I've got is notice on these panels and reviewing people who are in secure hospitals, is that all the people around the table need to be open about mental health, because psychiatrists, learning disability nurses, psychologists, Everybody needs to be open about how they're being affected, because you get situations where people at the highest level of their professions are so in a habit of doing one thing that they don't see that they're in the habit of doing that. And that's dangerous for people. Very often they aren't open, and they are the people who would say, no, they don't need it. There's one story of one person in what's called a care program approach review. And someone asked him a question. I asked the psychiatrist a question, and the psychiatrist answered, and the patient said, well, you would say that, wouldn't you, because you're a psychiatrist? Which completely blew the psychiatrist away, because that person hadn't got the insight that their role was institutionalizing them and that their mental health was actually at risk.
If you don't talk about your mental health, people who make all the decisions, like the government and the NHS, they're never going to know. It's whether or not you saying what you're going to say is actually going to be listened to and be changed.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks to everybody who took part in the film. It was, you know, it was great filming everybody and getting out to see people as well, and then doing some of it on Zoom, and it was really good capturing all the really, you know, important things that are important for us all to talk about. So the next bit we're going to do though is we're going to do a flinger exercise. So next slide, Dave, will tell you about what flinger is if you haven't seen it. Okay, so we'll be using flinger today to collect your answers and questions. So for people who don't know how to use flinger, this is how we use it. Loads of people are pro on this, but some people haven't used it. So let's have a look. So yeah, so we're going to put a link. I think one of us is going to put a link into the chat box, and you click on the. So next bit, David, please. You would then click. You click on the link and it will take you to a question, and the question will be, well, the question will be, do you think it's important to talk about mental health? And so that will be there. Next one, please, David. Yeah, so and then you enter your message in the top right corner of the box. So your answer in here, we'll all get used to it. People will show us all what to do as we go. And then you press send, and it will put your message, whatever you think, in there. So this is how we do it. So if one of you guys put the link in here. Yeah, there's Izzy's put the link in already. So you click on the link. I think David's going to change the screen and put the flinger onto our main screen. So next, please, David. So I got confused. All the web messages come in and I was getting very confused. All right. Okay, so here we go. So the question is, do you think it's important to talk about mental health? And we're going to, so, oh God, they're flying in already. So we're just going to do this for, we'll see how long this one takes. Then we'll have another question after that. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're right, find out how to, if you pop it in the chat box, we can put it in there for you as well, or wave at us and we'll come around.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone heard that because Abby's cracking up a little bit, but if you can't do it on here, put it in the chat box, and Izzy will cut and paste your comments onto Flinger. Hope you heard me.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me, Cherry.
Hi.
I'm not very good because I'm dyslexic. I can't write things in the chat because
Okay.
I can't spell very well. Could somebody help me?
Yeah, if there's anything you want, I mean, spelling doesn't matter. I'm dyslexic as well, so we don't care what people are. We know what we're trying to get across, don't we? So if you want to say we can put that on there as well. If there's anything that, you know, do you think it's important to talk about?
I think it is important to talk about mental health because I've gone through it, and also I know somebody that is going through it at the moment, and there's not enough organisations out there to help them. You're just a number to people.
Okay, so we can get that in, Kathy. Somebody's quick at typing, not me.
I'm ever so sorry because I didn't like to ask you. You know.
No,
what I
no,
mean?
it's fine. It's fine. That's we've got like little Santa elves helping us around here because us
Because
dyslexics.
I wrote a piece about my mental health, and I'd like to share it with the people later on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you carry on talking for a little bit if you like, whilst we do this exercise, because people are writing on here. So if you want to say a little bit.
Well, I'd like to say, can I read what I wrote down?
That'd be brilliant. Yeah, yeah.
Mental health is an unseen illness. People may judge the way you behave. They can't see you suffering or empathise with you. That they see you as acting as a little strange. As I am suffering from mental health, I have been a victim of people mislaying of my behaviour. Every day I can struggle, but unless people in the public start realising we are potential, always be a victim, I am able to put a front on so people think that I am okay, but I am not okay. Not okay. I was watching a programme on TV that was to do with mental health. This means that I noticed some people are not being listened to the patients. They don't want to go to hospital as they feel they are not just sent to hospital as they were just sent away with a leaflet. This needs to change. Support groups are not always available, especially during COVID. These people have, especially during COVID, nowhere to turn, and many are taking their own lives. This has to change. I'm sorry that I got a bit stuck with the words.
No, Kathy, that's fantastic. Thank you for writing that down and having the courage to read it out to lots of people that you don't even know. So that's brilliant. Thank you.
Well, I know somebody that suffered with mental health, and he self-harmed, and he went to the Samaritans. They sent him to A&E. He was in A&E for 4 hours. He's seen the mental health team, and all he was given a leaflet is to go away and take paracetamol. Yeah. That is really wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Kathy. Let's look at what we've got on this board.
Thank you for helping me anyway.
No, thank you for speaking up. Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, so what we got here, the question being, do you think it's important? We've got, it is important, but it's scary to say. Never suffer in silence, never be afraid to ask for support. Yes, very much so. It's always good to talk. Yes, it's important. There's loads of good stuff on here. I'm strange. I don't know if that's what people think of people when they're having a bit of a bad day. I don't know.
It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, exactly, Mark. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah. If we'll carry on doing a little bit more, and then we might go to what we got. We might go to the next question. We can. So the next question here is: do you know where to go if you need help? So if you do, just tell us what you know. So that'd be great. Yeah.
My daughter is going to Turning Point in Suffolk with the mental health because she had a relapse, and she's got an appointment with Turning Point this morning. So hopefully, please God, she'll be all right.
Yeah, let's hope so. Terence, you got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, my hands are playing me up at the moment. Not the one I put up. But anyway, there's places that we can get. The library, for instance, will offer advice. Library, the CAB will try to help if you are suffering. They can point you in the right direction. There are carers groups. There are men's sheds, and there's plenty of groups that are out there, including local councils, will try to help point you in the correct network. So when you are suffering, it's not easy to know where to turn, but there are places that will try to help point you in the right direction.
Thanks, Terence. Thank you.
Stewie, can I just ask a question? Sorry, I don't know how to put my hands up. I personally went through, and it weren't so long ago actually, a lot of issues with my son with his mental health, and I'm not going to lie, for someone who is a support worker and deals with it on a daily basis with customers, I personally didn't see it happening with my own children. And if it weren't for Leading Lives giving me the tools and people to see, I personally, as a parent, I didn't know what to do or who to go to. I tried getting hold of the doctors and I had no help at all. And it weren't for Leading Lives giving me the number for a crisis team that actually got me the help personally for my family and my son. So yeah, this bit is very, very touching for me, because now I know from what everyone is actually saying and ideas, I now know if my son goes back to that situation in that dark place, by all this screen, I know where I can go now for help and support. So I want to say thank you for everyone's who's banging all these like cams and stuff like that. I know now where I can get help from, but before, and this is only going back less than 6 months, no, about 5 months ago, I did not know where to go. I was like thinking I was a failure as a parent, but I did not see the signs where I deal with it on a daily basis. So all this information personally, I want to say thank you. I know now where I can go for help for my son. So thank you for everyone for all the input you're putting in now.
Thank you. What's your name, sorry?
I'm Adam, one of the Leading Lives at Lowestoft.
Thanks, Adam. That's all good. It's all good. It's all about talking and communicating with each other, isn't it? So
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. This is brilliant, and what we'll do, I think, because we want to move on to the guests and we want things to be smooth. We can leave this flinger up and running, but we can move on to our next guest. Who's struggling? You're struggling with. I'm struggling with flinger to just put in. Just put my message here. Yeah, that's fine. Just put your messages in there. We'll leave this flinger open. Owen, do you want to get a quick one in before we go to the next guest? Because I saw your hand ping up quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say that, it's all, when it comes to mental health, and if you go and get the help, like at the hospital, or you ring 111, and sometimes you talk to people who may not be specifically trained in that area, that's not their fault. It's just they're generalized. But then when you go to the hospital and you have to wait 5 hours through the night to speak to someone, and it's over the weekend, and then sometimes you might get you might get a really good conversation with the doctors up at the hospital. Other times you might just get someone saying to your partner who is really struggling, well, you need to engage, because if you don't, we can't help you. And then they kick their partner out, who is maybe a support need for them. So what will happen if the person was mute and only communicated by whispers to your partner, or didn't speak very often, or didn't have the courage to speak, but they say they're not engaging, and then they discharge you for not engaging? I think that is a real one that needs to change. And I think instead of just saying you're not engaging, maybe find out why. Like, why are you not speaking? Are you not able to? Are you scared to? What is the reason? Instead of just saying you're not engaging, off you go, and they just send you home, and then you're still at risk of all the things that you've got at home. So if you're prone to self-harm, going home is just going to make you even more safe. But after I waited 5.5 hours up at the hospital, I've told they know who they are, but I said to them, I'm not going up there again. I'm waiting for 5 hours.
Yeah. Thanks, Owen. I that's all brilliant stuff. Thank you. David, can you take the share screen down, please? And I'll just swap to our next, whoever's I don't know who's sharing the screen at the moment. Oh, David is. Thank you. Right. Thanks, everybody. We'll keep that flinger running so you can still look at that. Please put comments in the comment box as well. We're going to move on to our next guest now, because we're kind of, oh, well, we're all right. Well, let's not talk about time. Let's go. So we're going to introduce you to Susannah. Susannah, are you here? Sorry. Let me just.
Hello.
Just going to introduce you to Susannah, who's going to do I'll leave it to you, Susannah. There you go.
Well, hello everybody. Thanks very much for inviting me along today. It's a real pleasure to take part in this event. I've already learned a lot from you all, and I've never used Flinger before, so that was a new experience. I'm from Active Gardens, which is part of a Suffolk-based charity called Active Lives, and we're very much about being at the heart of local communities and providing some really great activities for people to get involved with to improve their health and well-being, connect them into their community and learn new skills. So if we could have the next slide, please. This is where we started quite a while ago now, in 2008. If we go to the next slide, you'll see where we've got to now. And actually those pictures were taken a little while ago, and things have changed quite a bit since then. But we have a lovely community garden on Maidenhall allotments, which was the first garden we started with. And I enjoyed hearing that person on the film who was walking in a lovely park, he said it's so important to get out and not be stuck indoors and be bored. And that's very much what we're all about. You can't get a sense of the whole garden. It's actually quite big. It has lots of different areas. It has a herb spiral, a sensory garden. It's got areas for growing vegetables. It's got cut flower alley. It's got wild areas. If we go to the next slide, we've also got an old bowls pavilion that we've commandeered and turned into a community hub. So this is a lovely area where we can cook and process all the fresh vegetables that we grow. And I'm sure you know, having a healthy diet is really important, and also it's so pleasurable to grow your own food, and food miles are reduced to 0 as well, because you're picking it right there on the plot. And we've run cooking events, we've made jams and jellies and chutneys, we've held market events and communal meals. I think that picture in the corner there was one Christmas some time ago where we all got together. And that's, people say that taking part in our project, probably the single most beneficial thing is a feeling of belonging to a community and being able to make friends and contribute to that community. So we also do all sorts of craft activities and various different singing, all sorts of different activities. It's not just about gardening. The wider charity does exercise, sport and adapted exercise, so things to keep you active and fit and well. So if we could have the next slide, please. I saw on the Flinger board that there were a few comments about men's mental health, and I think that's very important. I think men can be can be quite reluctant sometimes to share their feelings. They feel they have to stay strong and have ideas of masculinity, which means that they might be reluctant to share. So in response to this, we've set up our Active Sheds project, which is all about working shoulder to shoulder with other guys and just getting stuck into projects, doing. It's woodwork, but it's also taking apart lawnmowers and putting them back together again. It's making things for wildlife and bird boxes and bird tables. There's some great intergenerational skills share going on there. We have, that's on a Friday, and we've opened another day on Thursdays for everybody, not just men. We've got people of all genders who join in, and that is a supported session. So, well, led session. So we have Ralph and some of our volunteers who help you, if you're a beginner, help you get the most out of the session. So next slide, please. Beekeeping. So we've taken on a few more plots at the other end of the site, and we've turned it into a beautiful wildflower meadow. I think the picture there shows people planting a sort of lavender lined path, and that was in spring, but in summer it's this waving sea of wildflowers. It's absolutely beautiful. We have got a number of films on our website so you can see what it looks like. And this project was really all about helping people access beekeeping and wild spaces in the heart of an urban environment. Beekeeping, contrary to what you might think, is actually really a very peaceful activity. Being close to the bees, going about their business and making their honey, it's very soothing and calming. The smell of the hives is beautiful, and the sort of peaceful buzzing is quite therapeutic. If all goes according to plan, of course, the bees can get a bit agitated sometimes, but we do have, as you can see in the bottom left corner there, a hide which you can be in unsuited and watch the hives being opened. We have beekeeping mentors who can teach you about the queen bee and her colonies and how honey is produced and what bees need to keep healthy. The benefit of this project is you have a setup there and you can join in when the beekeepers go out on a Monday, and we have all the equipment for you to borrow, so you don't have to invest money before you know whether you enjoy it or not. So it's a lovely project, and you can come along and just join in for one session or watch from the safety of our hide. So next slide, please. Now this is Chantry. This site we took over in Chantry Park, and we'll quickly move on because that's what it looked like when we landed here. And we've now turned it into a lovely garden centre, which is open to the public. It's run almost entirely by members of the local community. But it's a great place if you are interested in horticulture, to learn skills in horticulture. We grow plants for Ipswich Borough Council. Again, it's all grown in peat-free compost, and we reduce plant miles to 0 because the parks team come and pick up from us and plant them straight out in the local parks. It's incredibly rewarding to see plants that you've growing in local parks when you go out for a walk or go out for recreation. We've got a brand new selection of plants ready to launch next spring. You're always welcome just to come and enjoy this lovely walled garden environment, have a look round, come and have a cup of tea with us. There's a lovely new park actually opened up, cafe opened up in the park. So it's quite a nice morning or afternoon out, and come and meet the volunteers and see if you'd like to give it a go. Next slide, please. Well, this just shows you a little bit more of the glass houses, and Anne, one of our volunteers. So I think I've talked about that really. We'll move on to the next slide. We work in partnership with older people in both local residents and people from local care homes. So we have Sue Ryder Care in the park, and there's 1 or 2 other care homes in the surrounding area. So it's always lovely to welcome people and to put on programs for people that are perhaps want to be part of the community but can become quite isolated in their care homes. So people have told us that it really helps to get out and join in, do something useful, and have a bit of a chat and socialise with our volunteers. So next slide, please. So we have opportunities for people of all ages and abilities. We work at the top left corner, we work with Suffolk Refugee Support. So in that particular day, we were welcoming young families from Suffolk Refugee Support. Bottom right, we worked with a young man who wanted to learn skills in horticulture to perhaps move on into a career in horticulture. We've got our ladies in Sudbury who up spades and do gardening all around the town and greening the town up. I'll talk a little bit about our Sudbury project later. And Ian in the bottom left there, who came along because he found gardening and joining in with active sheds very therapeutic. So volunteering opportunities are out there, and you have the satisfaction of giving back to your community too. Next slide, please. So there we are. We've got people from Suffolk Refugee Support who actually came down and gathered lots of vegetables from the site. And we had a wonderful cook-in together. We all got the barbecues going. We're actually doing that later at the community garden today. We're having our Christmas barbecue. And it was wonderful. We shared cooking skills and different tips and recipes. So it's a great way of bringing different communities together. Ipswich is an extremely diverse town, as you might know. So next slide, please. We have lots of different projects. At the moment, we have a project for young people who are learning skills and confidence in their journey towards the workplace. And in January, we're hoping to launch a new project for people of all ages. The projects are funded by European Social Fund. They're entirely free to join. They're staff-led, and you have, it's a really great opportunity to try something different, learn practical skills, but it's not just the gardening and the nature conservation. There's all sorts of what are called transferable skills. If you are developing confidence to move into employment or further learning and training, so building team working skills, getting to know other people, new contacts, learning how to communicate well, taking responsibility, all those things which are so important. So we've had some really good outcomes with people moving on into other learning and training or staying with us as volunteers. So it's been great. Next slide, please. We talked a little bit about working with the older people from the surrounding area and beyond, and so that's just a little bit more information about those projects, but we can move on there. More about our working with the different communities in Ipswich. We actually set up a women's skills exchange alongside our men's project to encourage more women down to the garden. I think particularly on the allotment site, we were successful in attracting a lot of men. It's quite a sort of traditionally male environment, but we wanted to get more women down there. And on this particular day, Pat was holding grow your own micro veg workshop, because obviously not everybody has access to a garden or has their own garden, and she had this lovely project to get people growing healthful little micro veg on their windowsills. So we have lots of opportunities for volunteering and skill share at the gardens too for women. So next slide, please. Schools programme. Well, it's been quite tricky trying to reach out to schools during the pandemic, but we are hoping once we get back on track that we'll be able to invite our youngsters back on site, because obviously setting these good habits early in life of getting outdoors, doing physical exercise, having, eating well, eating fresh veg, connecting with other people, being part of a community, they're habits that is so important to form in your young life and carry them on into adulthood to help with your mental health. So next slide, please. Yeah, that's a little bit more about all our work experience opportunities and young people working alongside older people and giving back to the community on bigger projects. I quite like that slide on top left there, because that was during Wimbledon week, and we actually got some residents from Sue Ryder Care down to play a bit of tennis with some of the youngsters who came over from Chantry Academy, one of the local schools here. So it was quite a good fun day we had. Next one, please. Now this is over in Sudbury. We opened up another project over there, which is in Sudbury's main park, Bellevue Park. And that runs on a Thursday morning. It's not our garden, but we really feel it's our garden because we put a lot of tender loving care into the borders and the beds. We encourage everybody to get involved with us down there. And there's a really strong group of volunteers who all come in all weathers to help out and to make the park bloom for the benefit of all. So that's over in Sudbury. Next slide, please. Events, markets, plant sales and fun days. It's again been a little bit tricky this year to run our produce markets because obviously not everybody wants to come along or has the time to come along to volunteer, but it's still nice for them to get together and find out what we do and have access to what we grow. We did run a Connecting with Nature Day during half term, and we had a few people turn up to go on tours of the sites and get involved in activities, building habitat for wildlife in the wild areas, finding out about our bees. We had a harvest crowns activity for young children. So that was a nice day to bring members of the local community together. But as I say, if you're interested, you don't have to come to an open day. Just give me a ring or drop me a line and I can arrange to show you around. So you'd be very welcome. Next one, please. Now, I don't know whether anybody ever came to one of our big garden parties, but these were great midsummer events. I know it's the Queen's Platinum Jubilee next year, so maybe we'll look at some sort of summer celebration. There's all sorts of things that we do that day. We not only showcase our plants and produce, but we have site tours and beekeeping safaris, and we had archery that day. We have Ipswich Wildlife on site making hedgehog homes and helping people build bird boxes and things for their gardens. So let's hope we can get back on track this summer and open the gardens again. It was a lovely, popular event. So next slide, please. So the benefits, well, getting active, feeling fitter, making friends, feeling less lonely, reducing your social isolation, having somewhere to belong to and contributing to the community. So those are the main benefits, and there's a lot to learn too. If we go to the next slide, learning and sharing skills for work and building up your confidence. So I think most people who've come to join us have felt that the garden has helped them in many ways. Next one, please. And then, of course, access to fresh, low-cost fruit and vegetables for a healthy diet, access to nature, the natural world, right on your doorstep, because I think during the pandemic and the various lockdowns we've had, you know, having that opportunity to do exercise, get out, go for a walk. We all know nature has never seemed more important. So it's there for you to enjoy. So, you know, do come down and see us and give us a go. Next one, please. And peace and tranquility. It's a breathing space. That's very important for mental health too. So, you know, the great thing about being part of our projects is you don't have to be with people doing something all the time. The gardens are places where you can also find a nice peaceful spot to go and sit and just listen to the birds and watch the insects on the flowers. We've got a bird watching hide. We've got places in the garden where you can retreat and sit and contemplate and be on your own if necessary. And that's very important too. The next one, please. And then the all important having a good old laugh. So yeah, that's great. And it was good to join at the beginning of this and to hear people just, you know, having a bit of banter and chat and a good laugh. And that's so important. And everybody says that of all things, that is the most important, is being with other people, getting together, sharing your problems, and then sort of getting stuck into practical activity, being able to throw off the issues and at home and just have a good old laugh. So we all know how therapeutic that is. So next one, please. Well, that slide I put in really just to show, it's a bit out of date, but in a typical year, we do welcome around 1,000 people through our doors, including all our events. And our volunteers contribute an awful lot of work to keeping our sites up and running. So we're very grateful for that help too. So next one, please. So that's me. I'm Susannah. That was us when we started, actually, the rainbow over the community garden when we started building it. I can just only encourage you to come and visit, and I'd love to meet you in person and see if you'd like to join any of our projects or take up a placement. And I'm very happy to answer any questions that you might have. So thank you for inviting me to speak.
Okay, thanks, Susannah. Thank you. We haven't got time for many questions. I'd go for Councillor Terence. Have you got a quick one? Because we want to have a quick break. But then we have put all your details, Susannah, hit the chat. We can send those out to people who are interested. And we'll put, is it all right to put this presentation up on our website?
Yes, it is. I didn't realise that last slide. I think I might have given you one that I hadn't updated. So I might send you.
Send me another, but we can get that. And then if anybody wants it, they got all the information there. Terence.
I just quickly wanted to say how fantastic this is as a Chantry boy born and bred to see this up and running now. And it's when it's needed most of a pandemic, it's just fantastic to see what you're doing. I will definitely be in contact with you about arranging a visit next year if it be possible. And I'd love to talk to you about some products to broaden out maybe in Stowmarket if you'd be interested.
Fantastic.
So, but I really appreciate what you've done. So I'm really looking forward to when I can come and visit.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. What we can do, if you want to ask a couple of questions, and we don't have a break because Mik's come here now. So if you don't want a break, we could just carry on. You know, is everybody all right to carry on? We could get a couple of questions in there before Mik does his bit. Okay, so Owen, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say that from what I heard, because I was cleaning and listening at the same time, that I've always found it difficult to want to be able to go back to volunteering because I've had paid job in the past. But I would like to maybe have a chance to maybe do 1 day a week or something, because I think that would help my mental health.
Sure. No,
And
fantastic.
if you also have a laugh, and there are some sort of, more elderly people, like if they've got stories about like the past and stuff and the war, I'd love to hear that, because I'm so interested in that, and I could listen to that for hours.
Oh, well, that's really great to hear. And if you want to come and visit the sites, just get in touch with me. I can put my number and email in the chat, and we'll sort out a time for you to come down. And
yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve.
Yes, very quickly. It's been a very good session, really, because apparently I knew about Active Lives a few years ago and was told to contact them, but due to pandemic and COVID, I thought they'd only be sort of taken local people, mainly in Ipswich, and I picked up some information once at the Suffolk Showground about it, and I was told a million times to keep joining it, and I still haven't done it yet. But I just want to know, do they do hang and do when you join them? Do you get choose to do what you want to do, and do you do hanging baskets for Ipswich Borough Council, like you go around the towns and that? Because that will help in mental health if you're not just stuck in one place all the time.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for your question. We have sort of jobs of the day if you're a volunteer, and so there's a range of jobs to choose from. But we try and find jobs to sort of fit, people's abilities and what they want to do, and also you can suggest jobs. There's plenty of volunteers who come to us who have some fantastic skills that they can contribute. So it's a pretty democratic process. Sometimes there'll be priority jobs that we need people to crack on with. But there's across all our sites, it's a whole variety of different activities and opportunities, and one of the walled gardens suits some better than Maidenhall and vice versa, sort of thing. So it's really down to what you'd like to do and when you'd like to do it. Some people come for every day as much as they can. Other people drop in for a couple of hours here and there. But if you are a volunteer, it's nice to have some kind of commitment, just so we know who's coming when. But of course, there are opportunities for people to buy into the service with a placement, and with that you get more direction in developing your skills. It would be a more organized sort of session, and there'd be a whole range of activities that would be put on. And then of course there's our funded projects that people can join to enhance their skills, or if they're hoping to move on into different learning and training. So I can't remember, you had another part. Oh, the hanging baskets. We did do hanging baskets for the station one year in partnership with Ipswich Borough Council and the Tourist Information Centre, and we'd happily do that sort of thing again. We have got lots of beautiful bedding ordered for the spring, and we're working with Ipswich Borough Council to make their planting schemes more sustainable. So we've got lots of perennials growing on in the glass houses, because they're actually moving away from bedding plants, which sort of get chucked away every year, towards more environmentally friendly ways of growing and planting and gardening. So lots of the displays in Christchurch and Chantry Park were all our plants, and at the moment we're overwintering the Borough Council's bananas. So, hi, Gareth.
Yeah, hi, thanks for that. Hi, Suzanne. Just a quick point around your programme for schools. I don't know whether you're aware, but the DfE have funded the holiday activity programme for a few to 3 years. So there'll be more information about that on how you can be involved. And hopefully that'll be more of a long, sustainable programme rather than lurching holiday to holiday. So it'll be useful to have a conversation with you on that point. But also, I suppose, for everyone else on the call, at our Mid-Suffolk VASP meeting, so the Mid-Suffolk Mental Health Forum meeting, the Green Agenda has been really kind of a hot topic of conversation. So I'll be looking to kind of coordinate a meeting for anyone who's interested around sort of providing a service and support using the Green Agenda in that Mid Suffolk area. So I will sort of open up some meeting dates to have that conversation. So from the perspective of Susannah's presentation, everyone else on the call, there could well be a green project in Stone Market area to support mental health with that. So I will also possibly, if it's all right, shall I invite yourself to have some input, if that's okay?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. And I'm sorry we weren't able to get that holiday programme off the ground.
No, that's all right. I'd say with COVID, we've kind of lurched from crisis to crisis through the holiday programme. So I'll be in touch though, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank you
very much.
Right. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Suzanne, for your presentation. Was fantastic. Thank you. We're going to move on now to an old friend. Sorry, not so old. I shouldn't say old, should I, Mik? Mik, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spotlight you, if that's okay. So that everybody can see your beautiful face. Okay. Okay.
Wow,
cool.
which face are you looking at? Because it's not on the screen.
Okay, so here we go. Our next guest is Mik, who came to Suffolk People First in Kesco probably about 8 years ago. So hi, Mik. You're right.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me, can you? Even in lockdown, I'm there. It's poor things. Yeah, I'm doing very well. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk today. I'm obviously not there. Usually I end up having a wonderful time meeting you all in person. But of course, I wonder why I can't. Oh, I know. There's something going on outside, isn't there, called a pandemic. Boo. And it's funny because I'm stuck in Camden at the moment. And I was very interested about your community garden speech earlier. I've been trying to push to get one in the block where I live for about 12 years, and they won't let us do it because apparently it might lead to antisocial behavior on behalf of the youth that live in our area. And it was like, yeah, I don't think so. But anyway, it's great to see that you've got one, and I may even be in touch so that I can use it as an example of why we need one where we are. Chewy said to me today, will you come on and talk about being positive after such a horrible year, nearly 2 as it's going? Could you come on and be happy? So I'm going to try my best. It's a bit of an ask after what can only be described as a bit of a toughie. But I think the first thing is when it all started, I don't know about you, but I had this I was a bit cheerful about it all because I kind of thought, oh, I wonder if everybody who's not disabled will finally get the idea about what it's like to be disabled, because suddenly they're all being made not to be able to do something because of something beyond their power of control. Which really is what it's like, isn't it? You know, let's face it, people kind of look at me and go, oh, Mik's in a wheelchair, so he's disabled by the lack of, use of his legs. But actually, that's not it. I'm a big believer in the social model, that actually in my chair, I can scoot about and do lots of stuff. It's only when I find a place that's not accessible to me that I can't go in. And living in Camden, there's a lot of bars and clubs and most of the market that I can't get round. So I'm trying to explain that to someone who's not disabled. They always go, but you can't walk. And you're like, yes, I know I can't walk, but that's not what disables me. It's the fact that I live in a society that isn't built for me and my inability to walk. But you can't walk. So I was thinking, hurrah. And I went on television shows and I went on radio shows going, ha, 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 maybe now you'll get it. And was even accused by one American presenter that I went on to chat with that I was experiencing Schadenfreude, otherwise known as that wonderful feeling of ha ha ha, they're having it tough just like me, tee. And there was a small, kind of quite big bit of that, I won't deny. But I genuinely thought that would be it. And I even started writing articles and doing sort of radio shows about how to get through it. Because we, as disabled people, have experienced this all of our lives, or as long as we've been disabled. We've been stuck in hospital. We've been refused access or entry to things. So how did we keep happy? Well, we got on with it. We found other ways to do things. We formed groups like this. We used our abilities to the best of our ability to get on as much as we could, despite being stopped from doing stuff. So, you know, I know when I became paralyzed at the age of 15, I spent a lot of time learning to play keyboards. And that's why I've got a room full of them behind me, because they're as old as my wheelchair has been. In fact, some of them are nearly as old as me, which is a lot older. But anyway, I collect old synthesizers to remind me of how old I am. Anyway, and so, you know, you took up a hobby, you know, you stay in touch with your friends using technology, all the things that we did. That's what I advised them to do. And I thought, yeah, this is going to be great. But one of the things that struck me as we were going along, a lot of my friends were being told that they were clinically extremely vulnerable, that they needed to shield and stay away from people. And I was told that I wasn't. I didn't need to. I could go out and do whatever I liked, like everybody else, as much as they were, I could do. And I felt so sorry for my friends that were trying to arrange things and they couldn't get their shopping, and it seemed to be so strange. Then one day I got a letter going, oh no, sorry, we got it wrong. You are clinically extremely vulnerable, sorry, about a year after I'd been told I wasn't. And then I realized that nothing is arranged. You have to do it all yourself. And it was really shocking to me that we had this kind of situation where people were just like, well, you can't go out because you might die. But, and it was like, wow, really proof that actually they hadn't understood. And I was like, wow, this is really shocking. But then luckily the letter came just as in about March, when they were going, well, we're going to be ease lockdown now. So I started going out again and stuff. And then I realized that actually not only had people not taken notice of the kind of the way that they felt when they were locked inside, but almost it had kind of driven them a bit like, right, I don't want to think about anything like this ever again. And suddenly things were being done that were making it less accessible than it was before we went in. I don't know what it's like down by you, and I know you've got lots of counsellors and council staff on this call, so I'll be intrigued what happens once I say this. But where I am, the local council seems to have torn up the rule book on disability and access. They're just going, well, we want everyone to walk and cycle. So we're going to ruin the city centre and there you live for access, and basically make it so that you can only get into the town centre or your local area through one road. If you're lucky, the parking's being got away with, but you'll be all right because you can walk and cycle. And when disabled people in the area go, but we can't walk or cycle, can we have exemptions? Many of us are being told, no, they'll ruin the scheme. Despite the fact that I live in a city where we have a congestion charge, which is done by taking pictures of people's number plate. And there is an entire exemption scheme and all the software running to do that already in place. So I don't understand why it's too difficult. And it also means you can find people that break the rules. And trust me, I live in an LTN, a low traffic neighborhood. Just I can look out my window and watch people breaking the rules every day. And I'm thinking that would be money in Camden Council's pocket if they could find them with cameras. But anyway, and I'm trying to think, like, let's be cheerful, Mik, because it's not, you're not being too cheerful. That this bit is quite down. And I thought, well, one of the things is I'm finding lots of people all over the country. Do you know what? It's great because I can see Mark's reaction to what I'm saying, and it's making me feel like I'm hitting it right on the head here. Right, all over the country, I think we've got these little groups like We Are Here that are going. There's individuals and then there's small groups that are going, this isn't right. We've got to start. We're speaking out, but we're speaking out locally. We're saying, what can we do? And I think one, it's really so we all need to start talking to each other to make sure we share our experiences, because I'm finding that some local councils are listening. I've just had a letter today from a local council saying, oh, well, we're going to make sure that all blue badge holders are exempt within LTN so you can access. That's great. And also so that all SEND transport for schools are exempt. There's still some problems, but we're moving in the right direction. The group Wheels for Wellbeing, great group. I love Wheels for Wellbeing. I've got my hand cycle. You know, I'm not one of those awful drivers that only drives. I also cycle, although it is a bit tiring, I won't deny. But they're starting to say, no, it's got to be inclusive cycling. It's not fair to make it so that we're suffering so that some people can cycle. or walk more. It's got to be so that everyone has a better, greener, healthier, safer experience of where they live. So we've got people on our side that have got a loud voice, and people are learning. So we need to all talk to each other about what's going on where you are, what's going on where I am, what's going on in York. I mean, the stuff that's happening in York at the minute is nightmarish, you know, and we need to support them and they need to support us, and we all need to come together. And I wonder if it's going to happen, but we are all going to come out of all of this and start finding ourselves back in the dark days of the 80s and 90s, where the disabled rights movement got together and said, no more of this. You know, we're about to see a TV show, aren't we, about the civil rights movement of the 80s and 90s. And I wonder if that might be, you know, the kick that we need, that groups like this, while we're also all about supporting each other and making sure that local people that are disabled have the best life they can have, it's also time, I think, that we start saying we've got to start fighting for our rights, both locally and nationally. And I think that we also need to support each other. I'm going to the courts, the Royal Courts of Justice next month to support some people in Lambeth. I've already put some money in towards York's legal challenge to their changes. But all the councillors that are on board, can I just say, please listen, you've got the greatest resource available to you, which is all of these disabled people that live in your area. They can help you make what's going on be perfect and brilliant, and make it so that you can lead the way. I keep trying to get my council to listen. Yes, there's a comedy moment of how much I'm being driven to distraction by Camden Council. But I keep saying to them, look, if you get it right, you can show other councils how to do it. So your councils could be the ones that lead the way and show the rest of the country that you can build back better, build back fairer, and build back more inclusively. But I suppose, I think I'm coming to the end of my waffling period. So I think the thing is, all I can say is we've got through this, folks. I know that many of us have lost people. We have. It's not, I've lost people too. And I think that we need to honor their memories and say, let's not let this be a slip back. Let it be a hiccup, right? Let it be that people have reacted badly to being locked in and they've gone a little bit kind of stir silly. So what we're going to say is, look, let's come out, let's all start talking again. Listen to your local DPOs and your local community groups where disabled people can give you their lived experience to build back better and fairer. And just think 2022 could be the start of the building back so that you build a properly inclusive world. And then we can show you what we can do. It's not, we've been prevented from fulfilling our potential for too long. And everywhere people are starting to see that that's not fair. And if we build a proper, friendly environment for everyone to live in, we can have a great time and we can all leave this awful period behind us and go out and prove to the world what we can do and show each other what we can do and prove to ourselves what we can do. So that's it. That's kind of my rallying call for everybody. I think I'm open to questions. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
thanks.
That's no worries. I'm sorry if that wasn't quite as cheerful as I was.
Oh no, you can't. No. I don't.
But I ended up. What I'm trying to do is I'm thinking of running for council in Camden myself.
Yeah.
With a plan to run for Parliament and then MP, then Prime Minister, and then great dictator. But we won't go into that. That's my plan for later in life.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get in those rabble-rousing speeches that I can do at the soapbox tub thumping to get everybody riled up.
We've got to be realistic, haven't we? We've got to be realistic. But Leanne, your hand jumped up straight away. Have you got a question?
Haha, Leanne.
Hiya.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks.
Good. You mentioned about the radio. I used to be a radio presenter at Felixstowe Radio, and I I loved it. Absolutely loved it, and it brought out my confidence and my self-esteem because I can just talk about random stuff and then no one can see me.
Hey, I'm at that age too. I used to be a TV presenter, but now I'm kind of much happier on radio.
And I just like to get back into it, and I don't know how to.
Radio's a funny one. I mean, one of the big ones. A lot. I get rung up a lot to be interviewed now rather than be the interviewer. But that leads to other things. So that's one thing. Contact your local station and say, well, if you've got anything about, say you've got some subjects that you love talking about, if you want to do an item on this story or something about gardening or bicycling, or it could be disability issues, which is what I always get asked about, then contact them and say, oh, here's my contact details, because they're always looking for people to interview that are new, that are local, and that can join in with an angle that they don't normally get sort of to air. And then say to them about what you used to do, and say, you know, if you ever need an article recording, I can do it. If you ever need me to stand in for someone, I can do it. The other thing, I think, is that lots of the people I know in the industry are saying to me now, do you do a podcast? Which is basically just what you said, isn't it? It's that tuning in, having a chat with, and instead, just like when you're on radio, you don't know anyone's listening. You just really hope they are. So it's kind of the same. You're recording it for an imaginary listener, and then you put it out and hope that people listen. And you know, you get your friends and family to listen, and you get sort of all the people at Wonderful Ace to listen, and it goes like that. So that's what I would do. Do those two, and then see what happens. But also, just if you keep recording little demos and sending them to people, that's still, put it online, put it on a little website, put it on your YouTube, on Facebook or on Twitter. Just get people. It's just keeping going. I mean, I've got like my professional mic and everything. So I've spent the whole of this period doing radio stuff from home. So that's what I've been doing. And it's like, get yourself a little setup, and then just. But even if you start using your phone, so I mean, your phone's got a great little mic on. You can record to your mic, and then, you know, record it, put it online, see who listens. And then radio DJs and radio, especially talk radio, like your local BBC sort of radio station, they're desperate to find people to interview, because otherwise they end up with the same 10 people and they end up with the same views. So if you go to them, that's what I mean. I'd say to everyone that wants to get into it, that's the first way to go in, is, and then you get heard as having a good voice. People always say to me, you've got a two-tone voice. I've got a high bit and a low bit, and it kind of together. And so people ask me on because it sounds nice. So if you get that, then you're in. That's my advice.
Can we, sorry, we got three more, and I'm
that's cool. I'm just
Nick as well. Let's go for Mark, then Owen, then Kathy, and then we'll, if you could be quick, guys. Sorry to rush you because we have got other guests. Sorry, Mik.
That's right. When do you want me to go away?
Mark next. Sorry.
Hi,
hello, Mark.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. You got me through that, mate. You got me through. I was thinking, am I losing them? And I was watching you thinking, no, I'm not. Mark's on board. I'm all right.
I think it's spot on in the fact about the whole, and in particular the mental health side of stuff.
Yeah.
It is very, very. And the other thing is also from the answering about radio and music. I'm a musician as well. I like to link up with people, a bit like yourself, to go through all that. Maybe we can look at it as a project. I know it can be quite difficult online, but there are ways around it.
Yeah.
In terms of, obviously, in terms of mental health, in terms of radio and everything for a long, long time, I think the trouble is that we've got people around the UK that does these community radio stations quite independently, not just like ICO and some of the stuff what we got in Suffolk, but it's also about trying to get the equipment to be accessible. Yeah. And I think this is why we wanted to go further in the fact that, you know, yes, we could do podcasts, but if you've got the right software and you're doing it at home, that's fine. But if you're going into a community radio station, it's very struggling. I had experiences from, for a while, and then I said, well, I need support. They said, so it costs you blah, blah, blah amount of money. That shouldn't be the case if you're presenting a show. And I think that's the thing, but you've, you took me going on this one as well, because I think we both got something in common there where, a lot of things, and we want to go through the different feeling, different situation from all the time. And I think the most important thing, I think, from the mental health perspective is just be kind, and people will try and understand you, but it's still a long way off, especially in social care, where it's still very, very glim for a lot of us. I think a lot of things have changed since the pandemic, and they're saying, right, that's it, can't do anymore. And I'm like, yes, you can. You're just not assessing it the right way. So
it's fallen apart, really, hasn't it? It's kind of, it was bad before, but it's like with Brexit, lots of people, lots of support workers and care staff not being here, and then lockdown, and people being sort of, so you've got maybe a very short visit to assist you with certain stuff, and then you're on your Todd for all day, being alone all day.
Unfortunately.
And I think, but I'll tell you what, thinking about doing stuff together is maybe the idea is to do an ACE podcast where you all get together and support each other. So say
we are considering that.
Yeah, say there's something you can't do, right, or you find difficult, get someone else who can do it. I'd spend ages training businesses to do this, to stop thinking about everyone has to do the job they do and start saying, what's the job you're good at? And so it might be that someone's really good at the tech stuff but doesn't want to talk, but someone's really great at talking but don't know how to do the tech stuff. Put them together. Then you've got one super talent rather than two people not fulfilling their potential. So I think that's it. And I think it's a great idea, because then doing an ACE podcast means that you can do once a week or once a month, a round robin, having a chat, guests on, telling the stories of your local area, and you watch that take off. You watch how
it's in our plans, actually, isn't it? So definitely. Can I go to, sorry, Mick, I'm going to say that we're going to, if we carry do questions till 12, and then Nick can come on a bit late, but Terence and then Owen, and then, so Terence, do you want to do a quick one?
Didn't Kathy have her hand up before me?
Oh, sorry, I've gone. Yeah, Kathy, and then Terence, then Owen. Sorry, Kathy, you have to unmute yourself.
The dreaded Zoom.
Yeah, I'm from Solihull in Birmingham.
Birmingham.
And I find a lot of people with learning disability and mental health and people with autism have got to have their voices heard more. And I think the authorities are really bad, because they think because people are in wheelchairs, they're not able, but they are able. They're more able than some of the normal people. And they should be thought of as a decent person. It's not their fault they're in a wheelchair.
Nope.
Or they've got,
do you know what, Kathy? It's funny. My friend Kira Lawrence, who's very vocal about getting people with learning disabilities heard and in the media. I completely agree. I think that we've seen a big push for people with, well, like the deaf girl dancing in Strictly. You've got a big push for that. That's great. But there's a whole subsection of our community, the learning disabled community, who are always excluded. And I think it's mainly because a lot of disabled people don't want to be thought of as having problems with understanding. Like, it's only my legs that don't work, my brain's all right. And it's like, well, that's really insulting to people who do have trouble understanding stuff. And let's not exclude each other. So I think it's about time that we saw many more people with learning disabilities in the media, both on shows, just being themselves, in dramas, and things like we were saying about going on radio shows and telling their story. I know Kira's pushing to be the first woman with a learning disability on Loose Women. I think that'd be brilliant. We've seen now they've got people with physical impairments on. Let's get someone with a learning disability on, and then things will change. But yeah, no, I completely agree. My brother's had a really tough time during lockdown. He had a proper nervous breakdown during it. And it was awful. He dragged himself out of it. He's gone back to work, and now he's well again. And it's like, I don't think people understand.
I also work with people with learning. I'm also on the Learning Disability Council for people with learning, and we're trying to push to get their voices heard by Parliament.
Well, don't forget, right? If you get this podcast going, you could actually have a couple of them and actually have a special one where you have that just for your community, or you could have a segment each time where you go, right, now we're going over to Kathy, who's going to be talking about news from the learning disabled community, and it could be from the learning disabled or the autistic community, or it could be whoever, and you could either say stuff yourself or get people on who have a story to tell, and you could interview them. But it's that, and then what that does is that proves that you can do it, because I know loads of people in the industry that go, well, they can't do it, can they? And you're like,
but they can.
They can.
Brilliant. That's what we did. Can. Terence, then Owen, and then we'll go to our next.
Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks.
Terence.
Hi again, Mick. Long time no see.
Right.
And one day you'll follow me back on Twitter, I promise you. But anyway, the funny thing about talking about politics, I came into it thinking I'd have the ability to make the difference. Being disabled, having these links, and it is completely and utterly disempowering. Our current system, where we have the control, a system that's controlled by first past by post, but where we have a chair vote that takes everything away. And I have a unique thing. I'm in a large council and a smaller council. But the smaller council wants to get things done if someone else starts it first. The bigger one is all about wanting to show they're doing it again if someone else starts it first and take the thing. Whilst the whole time disagreeing with each other.
Yes, I am.
And it's
a couple of people in my local council have been refused the ability to stand again in the next local elections, purely because they disagreed with the main party, if you see what I mean. And it's like, well, we can't have that. That's not democracy. But apparently that's how where I live is being run, more like a dictatorship. But don't quote me on that, because I'm sure that in some way or other it's illegal to say it.
Right.
Yes, I'm probably getting in trouble for saying it myself. Anyway.
I think the thing is, what annoys me is that people like you and me, we have the lived experience. We're not there to ruin things. We're there to try and make it so that they get it right. Because, I mean, it's like near me, they've painted a load of these colourful crossings just after the local mayor said, don't do any more. So now they've spent about 30 grand painting the floor with a flag that they're going to have to lift up because it's unsafe. Right? And it's like, that could have gone on something else. You and I would have pointed that out before they even started thinking about it. We'd have been right at the start going, do you know that there's that there's a real outcry against this stuff? And I think that's the point. And that's what's so sad, is that so many of us are trying to be constructive and we're treated like we're being obstructive. And it's like, no, we're not saying it because we're just being annoying. We're saying it because this stuff really works. We know how to make it better for everybody. Trust us. We could be really annoying, but we're not. We're trying to be constructive.
Thank you.
Search for you on Twitter.
I'm going to be a dictator now. Sorry, I've got to move people on. I hate it.
That's it. You got people. That's cool. All right.
And Owen, final one from you to Mick. Sorry, anybody else?
Get the answer very quick.
Sorry.
I saw your video the other day that Cherie showed off how you spoke, and I find you very inspiring. I put an idea across to Cherie, and it came up in my mind as you were talking about you running for council and stuff, that I said to Cherie we should have like maybe sort of like a disability parliament, like almost like a youth parliament, and we can then be able to be granted permission to go and maybe meet some MPs at the House of Commons, maybe meet Boris if he's still there,
still around. He's not having a party.
No, that's subject to really.
I dare you to say we're having a Christmas party and send out an invite to Boris Johnson. I just dare you.
Don't dare me, because
I think that's a really great idea. And I tell you what, I think it's an even better idea to say to your local council, we're going to have this local disability parliament where different disabled people air their grievances, and then we all discuss how we think we could make it better for everybody, and then invite your local council along to say, right, what is it that we can learn from this? Because I think then you'd start this really good relationship, and then start being called upon.
I've met Phil Smart in Ipswich, and he got more done in the problems that I had back where I lived before I moved than my
4 housing officers did in 6 years. So, you know,
See, there you go. So there you go, Owen. You see, you've already pointed out a very clever idea, which is make sure you've got a counsellor in your back pocket. Have a counsellor on speed dial, and you're sorted. And with that, I expect that Chewy's about to go, right, that's it, you're chopped off, mate.
No, I
See
think
you, pal.
there's so much time for loads of conversation.
Thank you so much, everybody. You've all been
Have a
great.
good wine.
No, well, I'm just going to unpin. I can't remember how to do it. I can't remember how to do it.
I think you've unpinned me already, haven't you?
Yeah, somebody has. No, you're the. I can go back to gallery. So, Mick, thank you.
Cool. Thank
Sorry
you
to
so much.
rush you.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
I've now got to go off and write some invoices because I forgot to do that. So I'm going to go and get some pay from people. Have a great one, and hopefully next year I'll be able to come down and see you in the flesh.
Yeah.
So have a good one.
So.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Ta-da.
Cheers. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Now we're gonna move on to Nikki now. Sorry, Nikki, for like we were doing all right for time, but people, we can't stop questions, can we? So I'm just gonna let Nikki introduce herself and here. There you go, Nikki. It's all up and ready for you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chewy. Have you got my PowerPoint or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, it's already here.
There it is. I'm just gonna change the way that I can view the screen so I can look at my notes at the same time. Is it morning? No, afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to come here. I've got a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation. I probably will skip through and because nobody wants death by PowerPoint at midday on a Friday. So I'm from Wellbeing Suffolk. I'm a wellbeing engagement worker, or a WOO, which sounds much cooler. So my job is to kind of go out into communities and bring awareness of mental health and well-being in Suffolk. And I just want to go back to the first question that was asked this morning. So is it important to talk about mental health? And so important. And you're all right that it's getting easier to talk about it. There was a time when you didn't talk about how you were feeling, or if you were having a down day, it was kind of like, well, somebody else must be feeling worse than me, or I don't want to trouble anyone because I'm not important. And you absolutely are important. So I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation today. I'm going to kind of try and fill quite a lot of subjects within Wellbeing Suffolk, and starting off with our Wellbeing Friends project. Now, I know that quite a few faces in here already know about this project because we've talked about it quite a lot. So our Wellbeing Friends project is a project to try and get communities, so people like you, to engage more in mental health. And so, like you were saying right at the beginning of the session, that some people don't know where to go to. So you'll be talking to a family member and they'll be saying, I'm feeling really quite down at the moment, but I don't know where to go. And we always go, let's call my GP. And then you get put on a list, or the GP doesn't kind of know where to send you as well. So Wellbeing Friends is about giving you guys, or anybody in the community, the information so that if you come across someone in your life who might be struggling with their mental health, to say, do you know who you should get in contact with? Get in contact with Wellbeing Suffolk, because they're the people who are there to help you with your mental health. And a wellbeing friend is someone who's passionate about mental health and wants to help others. So becoming a friend will give you the knowledge to recognize when someone might be struggling and to point them in the right direction. So I forgot to say, next slide, please. I need to do that bit. I feel like I'm on. So there's that information there. I literally just read. So if we go to the next slide, thank you, Thierry. You'll get a Wellbeing Friend certificate. Everyone loves a certificate. You can frame it, and you can put it on your wall. All you need to do is attend one of our introduction to Wellbeing Suffolk services. Bit of a mouthful. It's all online still at the moment. We were kind of thinking we'd get out face-to-face, but Boris has put a stop to that the other day. So you'll also get access to our Facebook group, which is only for Wellbeing Friends, and a newsletter to kind of keep you up to date with what we're going on with. And also, it's always good to put something on your CV that's a little bit different. So being a Wellbeing Friend would be great to put something on your CV, and also to show your friends and family and those people that you meet that you do care about their well-being, and you do have the tools to be able to say, contact Wellbeing Suffolk with how you're feeling. It's all right. Next slide, please. So I'm going to do a quick rundown about who Wellbeing Suffolk are. So from watching the little kind of feedbacks that went into the, what did you call it? What's the little program you use?
Flinger.
Flinger. I'm going to write that down because that looked like good fun to use lots of other things. So noticing that Wellbeing Suffolk did come up a couple of times, but it wasn't like screaming out for me. And not everyone was going, Wellbeing Suffolk, which tells me that that information is not always out there for guys to kind of know that we're here. So we help people with anxiety, so low mood, depression, if stress, people are going through stress, or maybe if someone's got a long-term physical condition or health problem. And you know, when that happens, that can also cause stress, anxiety, low mood. So we have all of those things as well. So we're really equipped to kind of help people. But our main thing is to give you the tools so that when you're feeling those things, you can say, right, I can use this tool that Wellbeing Suffolk have given me to help me to manage my mental health. Okay, next slide, please. So we help anybody who's over the age of 16, and all of our services are free. But if you find yourself, and I heard this earlier as well, in crisis, we're not a crisis service. So you're right to phone 999. The Samaritans are amazing people. If you just really need to talk to somebody, that Samaritans are on the other end of the phone for a non-judgmental, easy conversation for you to have with someone at that moment where you just might be feeling you're needing someone to talk to. So you don't have to be at that kind of crisis breaking point to phone the Samaritans. You can phone the Samaritans just to have that kind of, I need to get this off my chest, I think was what someone was saying earlier. But we've also got our first response team. So our first response team are there 24/7, and we can give advice for people of all ages across Suffolk who might be needing some help. And obviously you can still go to your GP as well. But I think the easiest way to access mental health in Suffolk is to fill out a self-referral form. So on our website, I'll put it in the chat so that you can kind of click on the link. You can fill out your own self-referral form, or you can ask someone else to fill it out for you and send that in. And you don't have to go into lots of detail about how you're actually feeling, because once you've filled out that referral form, someone will get in touch with you within 3 days to arrange an appointment to talk about how you're feeling and to work out which is the best way for you to go forward, to move forward in enabling yourself to have better mental health. Next slide, please. So the other great thing about Wellbeing Suffolk is, if you're not ready, because it's a really scary thing to say, okay, I've got a mental health problem, I need to talk to someone about it, I need to get it sorted. That's a really scary, a big step to take. So we've got lots of things on our website that you can access without coming into the service. So nobody knows that you're visiting and you're doing these things, kind of to dip your toe, kind of find out what Wellbeing Suffolk are about, and maybe then make that decision that you'd like to refer into the service. So if you want to kind of like edge your way in and have a little bit of a nose around to see what we're about, this is a great way to do that. So we've got lots of workshops online. They're in webinar format, which means that you're not on camera, you don't have your mic on, all you see is the facilitator, the lead of that workshop, and you can ask them questions through typing to them, and you can join in with a workshop and nobody else knows you're there. So that's a really good way of kind of getting in to kind of find out who we are and what we're about. We also have our workshops that are on Zoom, and you can be seen and you can have your microphone on. And these are kind of like little drop-in sessions that You don't even need to tell it, don't need to book on, nothing else. You go onto our website and look under community events. We've got lots of different things going on for you to just kind of join in with and have fun and meet other people. Next slide, please. So on our website, we've also got a live chat. So this is manned between 2 and 4 Monday to Friday, and that will be a wellbeing engagement worker who's on the other end of that. So if you wanted to find out how to refer into the service, you just type that into the chat. We've got easy read on there as well, so hopefully we can kind of have those easier conversations. Or maybe you want to know when there's a workshop, or any kind of question about what wellbeing do, you can ask on there. And that, like I say, that's available 2 till 4 on a Monday and to Friday. Okay, next slide, please. Let's get to the fun bit. All right. So in Wellbeing Suffolk, we talk a lot about our 5 ways to wellbeing. The 5 ways to wellbeing are things that you can do to help your mental health stay in a really good place. And it's kind of like if you have that bit of cake that's missing, then it doesn't work so well. So in that bit of cake, there's 5 ways to wellbeing. So we've got be active, give and volunteer, keep learning, take notice and live in the present, and connect with others. So I'm just going to go and talk to you a little bit about what those 5 ways are. And maybe you can put in the chat if you want to, if you can think of anything else that might be good to share with everybody about the things that you think might be good for your 5 ways to wellbeing. So next slide, please. So the first is to connect. Now we're doing that right now. We're all on this meeting together. We're connecting with each other. We're human beings. It's really important we have that connection with people so that we can share the great things that we're doing. Or maybe if we're having a bit of a rubbish day, to share those rubbish days with somebody as well, to have that bit of emotional support. Absolutely. Be positive and not negative about ourselves, says Steve there. Absolutely right. And it's not so easy sometimes, but that's okay. That's all right to feel like that. So to connect, and it could be something like, you know, when you go out your front door and your neighbour's there. And so you say, morning. Great way. That's an easy way to connect with someone. Or it might be you pick up the phone and you have a chat with someone on WhatsApp, or you might want to just pick up the phone and have a chat with somebody. Just connecting. It doesn't mean you have to go and join every group that's in your area to connect. It can be something really simple, just checking in with people. Sorry, Paul's just put, instead of saying to someone, what's wrong with you? Ask what's strong with you. I like all this positives. That's so good. It's so good for our well-being to kind of get to grips with our positive sides. It's easier to be negative than it is to be positive sometimes. Okay, next slide, please. So this next one, everyone always says to me, okay, so you're saying I've got to say I'm going to run a marathon by the end of August next year. Or I'm going to join the gym and spend £40 a month on a gym that I know actually I'm probably not going to go to. So be active is not about setting yourself these massive goals that you kind of know in your heart of hearts is probably going to be quite a task to do. So the best way that I find to be active is to say you haven't been out, is to maybe say, on a Monday, I'm going to go for a walk for 10 minutes. We can do that. We can all take a walk for 10 minutes or just get out of the house. Do that. Monday to Friday, I'm going to get out of the house for 10 minutes. Then the next week, you know what? I might even push it to 15 minutes. And if you set yourself those little goals, then eventually you might well be running that marathon, or you might well be doing that amazing thing that you really wanted to do to get active. It raises your self-esteem, and there's a hormone that goes through your body that gets released every time you do something exciting with your body when you start moving. I always say maybe put some music on in the kitchen and have a bit of a move around in your kitchen, and that's being active. Getting out and doing a bit of gardening. Just doing something that even the really simple thing like sitting in your chair and stretching is something to get active, because I don't know about you guys, but I spend a lot of time sitting like this. Yeah, kitchen disco is the best, you're right. Have you got lights? I bought lights recently, so I've got those as well. Yeah, absolutely. And nobody needs to, you're not being judged by anything. You're just moving around and getting active. Next slide, please. So our next 5 ways to well-being is to keep learning. And again, I'm not saying, right, everybody after this call, you need to get onto all of the education sites and sign up to a degree. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that it's about learning something new, to give yourself, your brain, that little bit of a something. It might be really easy, like mum's lasagna. You love mum's lasagna. She don't know how she makes it, but it's amazing. Maybe learning how to make that lasagna is learning something new. It might be joining a group to do, I don't know, photography or something. So that helps us to connect with people as well. So those things, we're covering 2 of those 5 ways to well-being if we're doing that. It's also, people say, I haven't got a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time to do these things. So work within what time you have. If you've got 10 minutes to learn G on the guitar, then take 10 minutes to learn G on the guitar. You've learned something. You've given yourself that ability and that chance to have one of those 5 ways to well-being. Yeah, children are great at teaching things. My son comes home and says, I've got this maths equation over my head. No idea. I'm trying. It's those little things, just little things to learn. And again, it doesn't have to be massive. It could be you listen to an audio book and you have that experience of listening and learning about something new. So yeah, just something really, really small gives you that sense of purpose. Okay, next slide, please. Sorry if I'm talking really quick. I get so excited. There's so much to say. Oh, someone's starting guitar lessons next week. Amazing. That's so cool. So good to do that. You have to let me know when you're releasing your next album. So the next one is to take notice. And again, we've kind of touched on this a little bit this morning when we were talking about sitting in the garden and just taking that time out. So we in Wellbeing call this mindfulness. This is a time to just stop, see what's around you, maybe take a deep breath. And I think one of the easiest things for you to do to have that mindful moment to take notice, it takes 10 seconds. It's just to notice how you breathe in and how you breathe out. Just taking those 10 seconds. And what that does is that sends a message to your brain to say, we're going to relax for a second here and take a moment out. There's lots of different courses on our website as well for mindfulness, and you get a sent recording as well, which is brilliant. So there's a relaxation session on there. You could go along to the webinar or the workshop, do the mindfulness or relaxation session, and then they'll send you that, and then you could fall asleep to it before you go to sleep at night. Use that relaxation. So it's just about taking notice when you're out and about, just listening to the birds, or maybe being aware of the season and looking at the trees and watching things that change colour. Just stopping. We're too busy always thinking about tomorrow. We need to talk and think about what's happening now, because that's the moment that we're living in, and just having that moment to stop and stand still and just be peaceful and quiet. Okay, next slide, please. And then the next of our, and the last of our 5 ways to wellbeing is to give. So lots of us volunteer our time. We know it makes us feel really good when we're volunteering to help someone else out. But again, we might not have enough time in our busy schedules and weeks and things that we need to do for ourselves to volunteer. But to volunteer might be just to, when you're walking down the street or you're out and about, is to smile at someone. That's giving to someone, because it's infectious. If someone smiles at you, you're very hard not to smile back. So you're giving someone that really nice feeling. It's a way of connecting with people as well. So again, we're kind of crossing off 2 of our 5 ways to wellbeing there. So again, it doesn't have to be anything massive, just something small that you can do to give to someone else. Maybe it's just checking in with somebody just to make sure they're okay, to make sure that they're feeling all right. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm just going to really quickly go through this bit here. So as I said, I'm part of the community team, and within the community team, we do a little workshop on the 5 ways to wellbeing. So you're more than welcome to go onto the website and come along and learn more about what they are. You can also share that with your friends and family. And like I say, if you're really passionate about mental health, this is a great way to look after yourself, but also a really great way to pass that on to someone else. We've got lots of different community events that go on. If you look on the website, they kind of change quite a lot depending on the weather or what lockdown situation we're in, things like that. So they do change. Next slide, please, which I think might bring us to near the end. So our referrals, I'm going to ask Chewy, I might actually just send you the links for you to kind of send out to people. So but as I say, it's really easy to refer. If you haven't got access to the internet, or you know someone who hasn't got access to the internet, that doesn't mean that they can't refer into the service. You can call up, you can fill out a paper form, or you can do it, thanks Abby, or you can do it as I say, online, and it's a really easy, simple form to fill in. We are actually working on getting an easy read for that as well. So, but just not too much information to share on a referral form, and you can get that in. It'll probably take you a little while just to fill that in and get that sent off. And all of our links for our workshops and our community events. We've got newsletters and all sorts of things on the website. So yeah, go and have a look around, and remember that your well-being, your mental health is really important. We're really good at noticing when we've got something physically wrong with us. We're really good at kind of saying, my leg hurts, or I've got a bit of a sore throat. And then we do something about it because we can see it. We're not so great at kind of going, actually, I'm feeling a bit rubbish. It's the same. It's just as important to get that sorted out and to talk to people and to know that you're never on your own, and you are important, and your thoughts and feelings are valid, and it's really important that you share that with Wellbeing Suffolk or a friend, just to make sure that you'll be surprised. People will listen. People are really empathic and really understand. So yeah, mental health, top priority to keeping us rounded and well. Okay, has anyone got any questions? Because that's my slide, I do believe. Kathy's got a hand up. Let me just.
Yes, I live in Birmingham. I'm not from Suffolk, but I've got a daughter that lives in Suffolk and a son that lives in Suffolk and my grandchildren. But there's nothing like this up here in Birmingham like you've got down there, and I appreciate what you said today, and I'll take on board with the LD Learning Disability Council, and I'll give them all the feedback for you.
Brilliant.
And then we can get some information, we can go further. But when I suffered with mental health, I went to 5 organisations, and because of my age, they said I couldn't have any help at all. And I'm 75 years of age.
That doesn't make sense, Kathy. That doesn't.
I was really ill. I was in a bad place then.
Sure.
And they said my advocacy got in touch with 5 companies, and they said, being as I'm 75, they won't help me.
Well, could you say you're in Birmingham?
I'm in Birmingham, yeah. I live in Solihull.
I would have a look and see where your local IAPT services. So that's IAPT.
IAPT. Wait a minute, because I'm dyslexia, see.
Yeah, IAPT.
Yeah.
And then put Birmingham.
Birmingham, yeah.
And then you'll find where your local IAPT, because that's the psychological therapies, and there should be one in your area because we are countrywide.
Oh yeah.
So,
but I think it's disgusting, but I really took on board all your questions today about well-being, because there's a lot of people out there that I work with, because I'm a link worker that's disabled, disabilities and everything like that, and they're being judged by people because they're in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
So you know,
and we're all important, aren't we? And we all have our own. We have our own
we all
needs.
come into the world the same thing, that we shouldn't be rejected by people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Kathy, Abby's put in the link. She's put in the chat box. She's put the number, the IAP number in there.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much for your help, because I feel embarrassed because I'm dyslexic and I can't write very well. You know what I mean?
Don't worry, you're fine. Leanne, you've got your hand up. You got to unmute, Leanne.
I just want to say that, do you go to hospitals as well?
Well, we're NHS, but at the moment we tend to do things, as with most people, either on the phone. So you'll have your therapy on the phone, or through Teams or Zoom or something like that. So my Wellbeing Suffolk, we actually that's our job, is to go out into the communities. So there's a different service for in hospitals. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, because I just want to say that I think people in hospitals, like if they go to A&E for their mental health, and they see a psychiatrist or the I can't even say the words, liaison officer, they just give you a piece of paper and then they say, yeah, you're fine, you can go home.
Yeah, not helpful.
No.
And I think that's, I know it's really difficult sometimes. This is why I'm saying it's really important to get talking, and to find, you know, it is a big step to say, I've got a mental health problem. But the earlier that we kind of can hear you, the easier that your journey becomes. This is why it's so, you know, we all kind of say, I'm going to talk about my mental health, but at the end of the day, sometimes we kind of go, also, actually, I'm not going to bother someone with that. I'm not going to talk about that. And then we find ourselves phoning A&E, and we've got to the point where it's gone too far. So that's why it's so important to share how you feel. It really is. So,
I think it's also really difficult for my partner as well, because he's trying to support me and he's got his own mental health, and it's really hard for him. Like he said to me the other day, because I had a little bit of a issue, and I got really, really upset, and he said he didn't know what to do. He didn't have a clue what to do to help me. And
you know that him being there is helping you as well. And
that's what I keep trying to tell him, but he said, but I don't think it is. And I was like, it is.
I would say, get on our website. I don't want to go into the ins and outs of how you're feeling in front of everybody here, but get onto the website and maybe have a look around and see if there's a workshop that you could do. And also just fill out a referral form. Just go on there and fill one out, because it's not going to do you any harm to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Leanne. Can I go to Rita, because Rita hasn't spoken? I know, other guys got their hands up. So Rita.
Just wanted to know, you know, the courses you do online, are they open to anyone, or is it only to people within the local community that you work with?
Aha, that's a really good question. So there's lots of workshops on the website, and they are open because you can just come along. Some of them you can just come along to, we wouldn't even know what part of the country you're in. So our community events ones, so like the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, you can come along to that. Doesn't matter where you are. A really good question about the workshops. I'm not actually sure, because when you fill out, so say you want to register for relaxation, you have to fill out a little form just to say what your name is, what date of birth is, where your GP is. So I would just try and see if you can get into the workshop that way, because that information is just needed for our kind of keeping a note on everything.
See,
So,
I'm Birmingham based, and there is very, very little support in Birmingham, to the point where I've been on a waiting list now for counselling for 2 years.
Wow.
And
well, again, I would say just go onto our website and see what resources are there. And again, as I said to Kathy, just get that, type in that IAPT Birmingham. There has to be an.
I've been through Healthy Minds, and Healthy Minds aren't
Is that
suitable
NHS?
for me. Yeah. I did get a call back from them. I'll give them their dues. I got a call back. But upon the face-to-face meeting, I was politely told that I had complex needs that they didn't feel they could meet, and re-referred me back to my GP, who re-referred me back to them.
Okay, so yeah, that's not helpful, is it?
No.
I would go back to your GP with that then, if that's if you've been referred back, because
the main reason I asked was because, I'm sorry for talking over you, I forget things if I don't. I noticed on your thing you'd got a carers community thing.
Yeah, you're welcome to come along to that.
I have a disabled mother, a disabled partner, and 2 children on the autism spectrum. So
that's one of our open
friends and support.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's one of our open sessions. Anybody can come along to those carers little meetups.
Thank you.
So yeah, please come along to that.
Okay. Thanks, Rita. Thank you, Rita. Owen, then Terence, and then Graham, and then I think we'll have to call it a day. So
yeah, I was kind of half listening, but you were talking about the wellbeing powers earlier. I didn't really catch all of it. Is that right? Am I right? Or am I wrong there?
Wellbeing friends.
But that's it.
Yes.
Why is it that I only ever hear about these other services that are within a service from the person who seems to be the only one promoting them? That's what's frustrating to me. There's so many services out there, especially if it's in Suffolk, not necessarily, I lived in Birmingham for 9 months. So they actually found out I was actually depressed while I was up there living away from home. They put me on medication, but my experience with that was pretty good because I was within the college. But why is it that the Wellbeing Friends, if it is there to help people if you need the help or the support or just a friend to talk to, why does it have to come to this meeting for it to be promoted, when if it's only done to us and we pass it on to a few people will say, well, I don't really need that. And also being like, I asked the team to review my ADHD, and they told me that Mariner House has a waiting list of 13 months. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right.
Why? And about them, you going out in the community, other than the services, I'm Leanne's partner, but when we go up to the hospital and they go, oh, well, we'll come and visit her out in the community, they then go, we can't come out because of COVID. It's all this really, excuse the French, BS excuse that I'm sick of hearing, because I'm not going to listen to someone say, well, we can't because of COVID. Well, I've been double jabbed. I'm about to have my 3rd jab next week. Leanne's been double jabbed. I know we've got this Omicron variant, but why can't they come out and physically see someone instead of just doing it over Zoom or a phone call? She had a medication review with her psychiatrist over the phone. That should be done in person, not over the phone. Because how can a psychiatrist get any type of understanding if you're over the phone? It's impossible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I think your things you're saying, Owen, are really, they've got to be said, haven't they? So thank you for saying. I don't know what the answers are, Nikki, but I think you need to say.
I think the only thing that I can respond with Owen is that I know it's not an excuse, but it might sound like an excuse, is that in the NHS we're trying to keep people as safe as possible, and although it's not ideal not to come out, not to be able to come out, it is about putting people first and about their safety. So it is frustrating, but we're kind of, especially with this new variant, we're kind of in this position where we don't actually know what that is.
I understand that you've got to put people's safety first, but last year, so many people struggle with mental health. And when you're told that you've got 13 months to wait, or we can't come out and see you because of mental health, and I'm not saying you guys under the NHS aren't doing what you could about mental health. I think you're doing all you could, but I think more could be done.
Oh,
I think there isn't enough to be done, and a lot of people just say you're fine, you can go home, but then the next day you might be up in the hospital again. And
I think that's one of the things I want to say, Owen, is that the Wellbeing Friends that I promoted right at the beginning, that is a really new project for us at Wellbeing Suffolk. And now you guys, all of you, however many are in the room, know that information. So that we can start spreading that information so that more people are aware of our services. So hopefully you can do that.
Okay.
Yes, we can do that. Be positive and join.
Let's go to Terence, and then I think we'll have to. Terence, are you there still?
Yeah, I'm still here. Unfortunately for you, but no. I found the main barrier, and this is before COVID, of self-referrals, and I'm not the only one I spoke to. When you actually have to go, sometimes it's easier to go to a doctor, tell them you're having a problem, having struggle, and you expect some help, only to be told, sorry, we can't offer you that here. You have to fill out a form, self-refer. And that has been a barrier to me in the past. It's been a barrier to other people. It's something about putting it out or filling a form in, and you're putting your own details on there. It's like signing your life away, saying it's not a cry for help. It's kind of like signing, it's saying that I cannot cope, and you're signing your ability to cope away. And I found that very demoralizing, that you can't go and ask physically for help when you need help. And you have to write in a form where you don't know where the form's going to be stored. You don't know what's happening to this paper trail. And that's what has blocked me and other people in the past. Yet, when I've gone to the library and they've noticed I had a bad day, somebody's gone and helped me fill out a form for me. So why we can't go to a medical professional in an area that you know is secure and tell them that you're having a problem and have some help there and then, and you have to do it in a public space, or you have to get someone else to help you. But it's a barrier. It's putting more barriers in than is necessary. And then if you can't get the help when you need it, that's when you're going to go down the route of 999, only to have more issues thrown at you. So it's unfortunate. GPs will say that they are overworked and unable to do things, but it's causing more work further down the line for the NHS. Can I answer that?
Can I answer that? I think GPs are great. They're brilliant people, but they're not specific to mental health. And I think that one of the great things about having the different services that we have within the NHS is that we are specifically trained in mental health. GPs are kind of got this wide umbrella of stuff that they know about. So when they ask you to self-refer, they're asking you to get the help that will be the best for you. You know, the doctors used to just give people tablets all the time. It's like, hey, take the tablets. But that's not always the right way to go about things. The other thing I wanted to say was that in our surgeries across Suffolk now, we have link workers. I think Kathy said she was a link worker as well. Is that we have those people that go into the surgery, and so they were there to listen to you and to maybe fill out that referral form with you, rather than, like you say, you have to fill it out. And I also want to say that confidentiality is so important with the NHS, and that we will tell you exactly where that paper trail goes. As soon as you're not within the service anymore, everything goes. We don't store anything, we don't share it with anybody. It's completely confidential. So there are different ways, but again, you're right, it's knowing this information. And if you go to your GP, there should either be a list of when those link workers are in, or ask at the reception, or give them a call and say, when is the mental health link worker in? So you can go and talk face to face. So that's what I kind of want to say with that one.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm going to go, because I can see Kathy. Kathy, final word to you, final question to you.
Can I ask Nikki if she could send me her email address so I can send her an email to say thank her for this morning's message?
Oh, I would love that. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. How's that?
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.